This is the One Piece Podcast, episode 505 for the week of Monday, February 5th, 2018. My name is Zach.
And my name is Ed.
And on today's show, we have very special guest translator for One Piece and Weekly Shonen Jump, Stephen Paul's with us. How's it going, Stephen?
Hey, it's going all right.
That's good. And we also have Anime News Network writer and our anime recap host, Sam Leach, is with us. How's it going, Sam?
Yo, how's it going?
It's going good. You can't ask me the question, though. It's a one-way question.
That's how it works. I turn it back on you.
Don't you dare.
I don't have to answer a single question if I do that.
This week, we have our manga recap of Chapter 893. It has to do with the 36th daughter of Charlotte, and I'll leave it at that. We also have an anime recap episode. What number episode is that, Sam?
824.
And what happens in that episode?
Not a lot.
Okay.
Actually, that's not true. There's some fighting and there's some happy crying.
That's what I call One Piece.
Yeah.
We also have some piece together, and of course we're going to end, as we have been the last few episodes, with some trivia. We'll see who wins our donut, I guess.
That'll be interesting this week,
yeah. And before we get started, we want to remind everyone, please support us on Patreon at patreon.com/OnePiecePodcast, where we have exclusive videos, exclusive episodes, plus our entire 500 episode archive available for your listening pleasure. If you haven't, we just put out the first Steve and Alex Eat One Piece episode and a lot more, so please check that out. Again, at patreon.com/OnePiecePodcast. We also have some news on our website, OnePiecePodcast.com. Big thanks to Adil, I think, for both these news pieces here. First, One Piece is coming to Netflix in Japan. Yeah, so Toei Animation announced this week that One Piece is coming to Netflix, but in the country of Japan, which I assume most of our listenership is not in. Thoughts on this?
I'm not sure if Japan, like, if they had a streaming on demand option for One Piece before this. I would have no idea, but I'm sure that this is probably the most accessible way.
I could have sworn Greg said in the past that they have some ability to watch episodes.
I think it was limited. Maybe it's
like a limited
TV
time.
Site. Yeah,
like a limited amount of time you can watch it on various apps, because they don't have exclusive streaming really in Japan. But for the archive for One Piece, no, this is the first time, I think, in Japan.
Yeah, and also Toei Animation is notorious. Check out.
It's nice that they can do this. I thought they spend all their time, combing YouTube for piracy.
and Google.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, they're notoriously kind of, I think, a little bit more, how should I put it, difficult to, get the rights for if you're a streaming distributor such as Netflix, Crunchyroll, Funimation. So this is a big deal. I don't know if I don't think they've announced very much as to what episodes would be there or in what form or when. So I would just continue to check our site out. The article for this includes the link to the Netflix request form. If you want to request One Piece show in your country, you should click that form and let them know. Also, let Funimation know. I'm sure they already do, but I don't think it hurts to show that there are people out there, who want to see One Piece on Netflix. I think it's a great fit for that platform. Mm-hmm. But it's also on another platform. It was just announced. Verve, I believe, is how
it's called. Yes, it's called Verve, which is it's really a compilation of other streaming services. Harmontown's on there.
Harmon Quest.
Harmon Quest, right?
Which is a good show. I like that show. And a lot more. Yeah.
But Crunchyroll and Funimation have both been on Verve for a while in their shared anime channel. But One Piece wasn't on there for a while after they launched that because of, we assume Toei.
I was actually shocked to hear it wasn't on there. I didn't know it was not on there.
I literally thought it was just like a front end where you could access, your Crunchyroll and Funimation stuff, because I thought that was like their parent, conglomeration thing that they launched or whatever.
For the most part, it is, but I guess there's still some licensing
They're
issues.
partnering. They're partnering up with other providers.
Right. For this is for people who only have a Verve membership, maybe. Now they can.
And what we're still gonna wait on now for like the real benefits of Verve is if Funimation can add their dub to Verve, so then you can have both the dub and the sub in one on one site.
I see.
I know they use the DVD rips. I saw some
for the subtitles.
You can tell by the technically limited subtitles.
No, they also use the English text on the episode titles. So that's what I had seen as proof of that. I think it includes all of the episodes, including the HD edition first 206 episodes.
Well, is anyone here actually
Crunchyroll has basically?
Yeah, it's like Crunchyroll. Yeah. Ed, what were you gonna say?
Does anyone have a membership on the podcast today? I don't.
You can sync your Crunchyroll account to it so that anything that is you can access anything through Crunchyroll through Verve as well.
That's what I have.
Also waiting on Funimation to sync to Verve as well.
I think the not to get too off track, but the problem with certain like the amount of streaming services is it just becomes like which ones are you going to choose? And I mean, I have Crunchyroll already, Funimation, Netflix, Hulu.
My Funimation streaming subscriptions on the chopping block. I've been watching so many movies. I don't watch any of the broadcast dubs, so it's like, man, what is this worth to me at this point?
Well, Funimation should probably reach out to you.
Hey, I mean, I just don't stream that much episodic anime anymore.
I think,
or at least not this year.
I feel like dubs are something I collect in physical media more than consume in streams. I kind of like watching my streams subbed. I don't know. It makes me I like not multitasking sometimes when watching anime. Anyway, there's one other piece of news, and it does involve the anime, and that the voice actor for Charlotte Katakuri was announced. I'm gonna pronounce this incorrectly because I pronounce everything incorrectly.
I can pronounce it for you.
Please go for it. Yes.
Tomokazu Sugita.
I think I was gonna say something like that, right? Anyway, Joseph Joestar. I want to just say that his what do you call the actor picture? The
headshot.
His headshot is awesome, and everything you would expect from Katakuri's voice actor. It looks like he's cosplaying like an 1800s version of Katakuri.
Okay.
All I know is that he's Marlene from Viz's favorite because she mentions it about every other week on the Shonen Jump podcast. So
it was also Kyon in the Haruhi verse.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
and,
it is
Gintoki from Gintama.
That's another big one.
That's a big one, yeah. And it's great to see Joseph Joestar being a role that he reprises here in One Piece.
Oh my god!
I hope. That was a weird impression of that, but
that was German Joseph Joestar.
That sounded like...
Oh my god! Yeah.
Oh shit!
That's better. Okay, I'm out of things. If you want more news, you can check that out at onepiecepodcast.com. But why don't we get into the podcast? Are you guys ready?
Absolutely.
This is the manga recap for chapter 893, Flampe, 36th daughter of Charlotte. Now, Ed, you have something else you want to read before we get to the front page here.
Yes, author comments. A lot of weeks, it's just something Oda did that week. This week, it's Bob Team Epic. Or wait, no. Bob Epic Team. Hey, are you mad? I'm not mad. You mad? I'm not. And Oda has clearly been watching, was it Pop Team Epic?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I'm with it. I'm hip.
Yeah, and the
I am not.
See, the Bob Team Epic thing is like their really gross looking alternate version of it that they do, where instead of, what do they call it in Japanese, bobunimimi instead of poputepipiku. It's quite a show. You should experience it.
It is something.
Is it funny?
Kind of.
Do you have any clips you could like point to that I could put in the description?
It's funny in
I have
spirit.
no idea what this is.
Is it like a 5-minute show or is it a full?
It's kind of like Wonder Shows and.
Well, it's weird because I don't know how it airs in Japan, but I know like the version we get on Crunchyroll. It's basically a 12-minute episode that they play twice, but every time that they play the episode over, it's a different voice cast.
Yeah.
So that's why like they would do one round where it's like Ryusei Nakao and Norio Wakamoto together.
Okay, I have to watch all of this now.
Oh my god,
Yeah.
I have to watch all of this.
All right.
Norio
Well, at least some of
Wakamoto
them.
and Ryusei Nakao are two people I need to listen to in anything they're in. So why don't we get into the front page here? And I do also love this front page. What's going on?
Yeah. It is the Saga of the Self-Proclaimed Straw Hat Fleet, Volume 25. Leo, we're sailing on the Usaland pirate ship. It's good to be able to do that voice again.
I mean, you did
Yeah.
it last week, didn't you? Or were you not here last week?
No, it's good every week, really.
Yeah. This is almost redeeming the Tontadas for me because I love this ship so much. And that's the only reason.
I didn't notice until just now that they're jumping off the leaf and swimming in the water around the ship, which is adorable.
It
They're
is.
having a pool party.
They are.
Well, we've known they could swim for a while. They killed that fighting fish in their introduction.
Except for the ones that have devil fruits, who will be in for a rude awakening when they go swimming.
That's true.
Yeah. No, this is really
Leo
cool.
is hanging off the prow like that. It's great.
I love the Jolly Roger. It is simple. It gets the point across. I like it a lot. I think that's probably one of my more favorite recent era Jolly Rogers, is minimalistically, Yeah, I don't know. I can't.
I had to laugh when I saw the title of this chapter because they had the whole like, oh, this is Flampe, the 33rd daughter of Charlotte, and Pudding is the 35th, and that was that whole mini controversy that happened, and then they came out on their Twitter account and were like, oops, sorry, we made a mistake here. It's Flampe should be the 36th daughter of Charlotte, and then apparently they thought about it and they're like, a tweet really doesn't get the point
Right.
across, so we probably better just put this in the title of the chapter here.
Exactly.
So-
Yeah.
It's like when you make a mistake and you accidentally yell, like you just point attention to that mistake.
Yeah.
I like most people probably wouldn't have cared or noticed, but now we all notice and we all care.
Yeah, I don't think Oda has ever mentioned in the past like having a hard time coming up with episode titles. But if it was, it'd be like, "Hey, Oda, we got the title for you this week." Don't even have to think about it.
Yeah, this does sound like an editor pitched this title a little bit.
Yeah.
I wonder Oda's process in title making, but we should probably move on to the chapter. Ed?
Yes, back with Luffy, big hole leaking out of his side with bleeding everywhere, and Katakuri looks down upon him and says, "Why do you look so hideously miserable?" And then it's the mirror world erupts in laughter, or is that Luffy screaming in pain?
That's Luffy, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Or-
Luffy screaming
yeah.
in pain, and then we get a shot of Flambe and her goons. Just, they laugh and they're giggling. Luffy's in pain. We get a brief shot of his face there, and Katakuri's like, "Your foot slipped, amateur." And Luffy gets up to guard himself, and Katakuri comes in, straight kick right to the. He does get the guard up, but he kicks him pretty hard like a soccer ball, and he's like. he's over. He's like Cristiano Ronaldo getting hit by hitting a soccer ball right there. He's got great form. Look at that.
Mm-hmm.
It's a golazo.
Which is ironic because there's only one character in this scene who has the proportions of a soccer ball.
Fair enough. And
Yeah.
if only she got kicked.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we see her. She's giggling off. She's kind of hiding behind something at the moment, but she's just thinking to herself, "Actually, dear brother, I was the one who. Why, you clever little scamp." And she's just
That
laughing.
was disturbing out of Ed's mouth.
Yeah. Well, and she's in Brother Katakuri's arms, and he's patting her on the head. She's
This
got
is
all
a
the
fantasy.
adulation.
We should really
Yes.
emphasize.
Yes. She's daydreaming, and this is what she wants.
Let's not dive into the psychology of that too much. I do want to point out on Twitter, the official One Piece account posted that very first panel on, what was it, like Wednesday or Thursday? I don't know if any of you guys saw it.
First page or first panel?
That very first panel,
That
which
Luffy.
is a
Oh.
relatively revealing panel, I guess, coming out of last week. It was just weird being Joey, I think, even made a snarky comment about it. It's weird being spoiled by the official One Piece account because it just was coming up in your feed. They always post the first page like half a week ahead of time on their website. So for those who like to be spoiled, it's out there. But it was interesting. We go to the next page as we see Katakuri readying. What's the name of his spear? Doesn't he have a name for it?
Mole.
That's a lame name. No, it was Mole. It was Mole. That's
Isn't that like a pun or something?
No, I mean
it like bores into things.
Yeah, well, a mole in Japanese, like they with the kanji, if you write it with kanji, which they normally don't, but if you do, it's like Earth Dragon.
Oh, that's it. That's what I'm thinking.
Way cooler than an actual mole.
Yeah, I can't think of a mole that's ever been cool. But Mole, maybe sometimes. So he starts stabbing him with his delicious Mexican food, and saying, "Look," and Katakuri says, "An instant of carelessness can turn the tide of battle." He is narrating his own fight here. That is kind of what he's doing. Right?
No, he's angry at Luffy for not being a better fighter.
It's a little bit of both. I mean, I know what he's actually doing, but it also kind of like. Anyway, so we see one of the donut mochis pop to the side of Luffy, who notices it, and Katakuri says, "Why did you lose focus?" And a big arm comes out of the mochi donut, and it seems that Luffy does not really avoid it. I think he kind of gets hit. I gotta look closely. It almost looks like right in the groin, which Flamparazzi is a fan of, right there, and Katakuri begins his mochi anemone, which before the podcast I did not know how that was spelled. And it's a really cool Gatling gun-esque style mochi attack coming out of the donuts.
Except unlike Luffy, he actually has multiple tendrils.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is why it actually does look like an anemone.
I think it's just the way that he drew it, but one of those fists looks like it has 6 fingers.
Let's not think about this too much.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's mochi. Can he make it anything? Like, does he? Yeah. Do they even have to really be fists?
It's the giant foot statue from Lost. This is what it was. It was Katakuri all along.
Oh my god! It explains everything about Lost. Oh, I like this.
That's a much more satisfying answer.
It explains nothing.
I could go on about Lost for a while, but I will choose to continue the chapter.
That podcast is Lost, I think.
The Lost podcast that we did. I think it is Lost. You're right.
No, I think we called it Lost to the End.
Something like that. That was the name of the last episode, Ed. Anyway, on from Matthew Fox's career, we see Luffy getting pummeled close up, and Katakuri saying, "What's wrong, Straw Hat?" In a, I guess, concerned, I don't know the correct word, anxious way. And we see the fallout of that attack as we move scenes, Steven. Well, not really scenes, but time slightly.
And on the next page, there's Yamcha right in the middle of the hole, just beaten and bruised. No, it's Luffy.
No, I'm not beaten at all. It's just a new craze the kids have. It's called Yamching.
Yeah. But we get this little insert of Luffy looking real bad there. Like his eyes are totally shaded out. It looks kind of creepy. And Katakuri is he's been both admonishing Luffy and also kind of curious to find out what the reason is, because he had thought Luffy was better than this, and now he's shown himself to be very disappointing. And Luffy has no answer. In fact, he hit him so hard he went into a flashback, and Luffy recalls doing some Jedi training with Rayleigh here. He's got the blindfold on, and he's saying, "I think I saw it, whatever it is, but maybe it was just his imagination." And we can see that Luffy's got a couple lumps on his head, and Rayleigh's walking around with a real big stick. So you could put 2 and 2 together. But Rayleigh says, "Oh no, that's fine. If it's just your imagination, that's fine, because that's actually what it. In other words, if it seems like your imagination, if you follow that is where you will eventually find the power of the color of observation hockey. You must learn to sense it subconsciously."
But it depends how many midichlorians you have in your body.
Who's the false Luffy?
And Luffy says subconsciously, and I just assume he's like, "What's that mean?" That does not seem like a very Luffy word. And then he emerges from his flashback and gets to his feet, and his knees are knocking there. His legs are rattling as he stands again, and Katakuri watches. And meanwhile, Flampe, who is blowing another bubble there, is noticing that he stood up and is laughing to herself about his quaking legs. And then she sort of floats up off the ground and says, "Here goes," and blows her little blowgun right at him. And now we see that this is indeed what she had done to Luffy before in the previous chapter, a numbing needle. And Luffy is huffing and panting. He doesn't seem to be aware of it at this point.
And the way her body or her clothes work, like I'm not sure if I was paying attention the first time around, but it's actually quite disturbing.
It looks like her outfit is basically a bellows because it's
Kinda
inflating and deflating.
I hope that's just her clothes and not her devil fruit power.
What's her devil fruit power again? Have we
she got one?
determined-
I don't think she does.
No. Oda's going to reveal that she's like farting or something right now. It's SBS volume 89.
All right,
Calling it
Sam.
here.
Needs more fart noises.
Yeah, we turn the page and we see Luffy using his, I guess this is his strengthened observation hockey that he's been learning throughout the fight. We see him swishing to the side, dodging the bullet, the needle, just barely. Flampe is shocked. Huh? He dodged it? My silent needle? But then he just sort of flops to the side, like just out of pure exhaustion. So it kind of gives this effect that like he's almost falling out of the way of the needle on accident. But I think he's dodging it, but then he's not strong enough to like keep himself up afterwards. We hear a big pfft as Flampe is laughing at Luffy failing to stay standing. The other people who are hanging out around her are saying, watch out, Miss Flampe, they'll hear you. And she's saying, I can't help it. You should see that monkey's legs. They're knocking and trembling like a newborn deer's. And they're all trying to stop each other from laughing so that they're not getting overheard by Luffy and Katakuri. They're trying to stay quiet for him too. She's saying, it's so stupid. He's covered in blood and hideously weak, and yet he just keeps standing up over and over. He can barely stand on those trembling legs, and then he just gets knocked down again. Ha! And Katakuri's catching on to what's going on. He's overhearing her. She's speaking over the corner, getting all excited. Eek! Brother Katakuri is looking this way, and that's
a funny panel right there. That's a funny panel.
Yeah, and on the next page, like she's got like hard eyes, like she's so excited for what's coming up. Oh no, he's gonna compliment me. I'm not ready. And she's being warned that Katakuri is coming over to her. He's thinking, I see. So it was you, Flampe. You took away his mobility with your special silent blowgun. His focus clearly faltered just a moment. In the midst of that heated standoff, I knew something was wrong. That was when I attacked and gouged his belly, inflicting a fatal blow. But do you really think I want to win that way?
Fatal blow?
Yeah, he's getting a little ahead of himself here.
Yeah. I don't think he knows how fatal blows work.
Well, I mean, if he's not
in One Piece
soon, he'll die.
Guys, in One Piece, a fatal blow has a very different meaning,
right,
than anywhere else.
That's just Tuesday night.
Anyway, it's true. Tuesday night, fatal blow night. We go to the next page. Everyone's favorite character shows up. I was so excited to see this character here.
Pierre?
Sure.
He does look like Pierre, though.
I wasn't going anywhere specific with that other than who the fuck is this guy? How would this guy sound? Probably like Pierre. Anyway, he points out that basically he got knocked down, but he got up again. And here goes Luffy again. And Flampe just finds the whole perseverance thing hilarious for whatever reason. They're all laughing at him. They're being real trolls.
What's with the whittle there, Steven?
That's a whittle. He's a whittle baby deer.
Who's doing Ed, can you do our dreaming Flampe voice here?
Oh, That's right, Brother Katakuri. This was all me. Aren't I just the cutest and most considerate of all your sisters? Nobody in the world is better than my perfect brother, and I'm his favorite.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I really appreciate a correct reading of Flampe. Katakuri does not seem impressed with her Californian charm as she floats, or whatever the hell she's doing over there, farting.
She's bringing it in for the hug.
She's using her special farting power to make her way over to Katakuri, who then stabs himself in the chest because the smell was too much for him to stand. No, I'm ruining this moment. Stabs himself in the chest, but why?
No, but you missed the cool moment there. He's like, what's so funny? And then he stabs himself. Like, that's actually pretty cool. Like,
Yeah,
she was not
cool.
expecting that.
No, I don't think anyone was expecting that to happen. Well, I mean, we could talk about that at the end. Anyway, yeah, Katakuri has a pretty badass panel here, and a little bit of the blood splats onto Flampe's right cheek. Luffy lifting himself up, like, not really understanding what the hell's going on here. Just stabbed himself? What? And the Flampinions, sure, here we go, are shocked as to what was going on here. And Katakuri coughs, although it would be hard to see because his scarf is covering him. But luckily, he takes that device away and says, when two men are fighting, Stephen.
And he gets right up in her face. He says, the last thing I need is some half-hearted assistance. And he's, just bearing it all here. The fangs are out, the giant mouth. And Flampe's even doing a little bit of a Perona face with her eyes there as she just goes, ah! And, kind of tumbles away until she hits the wall.
I didn't even notice her face there just because of everything else that's going on in that panel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a high impact panel. And her reaction is immediate. She's just like, stay away, you monster, don't touch me. And then she's, wailing about it hurting because she, cracked her head. And then he continues, if you're going to laugh at that idiot, then laugh at me too. And the Flampinions here are like, what your face, what happened? Is that a curse? Are you cursed? And she's shivering, holding her fingers to her mouth as he's breathing heavily, and then she lowers her hands and goes, you suck. And just has a real gross, like, sort of wide nostril, flared nostrils reaction there. And these idiots are like, oh, we agree, what a letdown. And she's, gross, you got blood on me. And she's, why would you stab yourself? You are not the brother Katakuri I know. And she even compares him to a pelican eel with his gross mouth going all the way to his ears. And then she just straight up spits on him, which we don't see until the third panel because there's a middle one in between where Oda helpfully provided an illustration of the pelican eel, where the guys are all laughing about it. So yeah, very disrespectful.
Is that her gum that she spat out in his face?
Oh, it might be.
He did make a point of showing that she was gnawing on it pretty big.
Oh yeah, if you look in the previous page, she has it in her mouth there.
And also when she says you suck,
she doesn't have it in the next page. She isn't chewing gum.
Yeah.
You can see it's in her cheek when she's saying you suck too.
Yeah. I mean, Sam, we're going to move to the next page.
We turn the page. Okay. We see Katakuri, but the background is like a little flashback. We're getting a tiny little glimpse into his childhood, and we've got like other people running away. Looks like he might be a kid and like he's scaring off adults or something.
Those might be his siblings, right?
Could be. He doesn't have that many older siblings, to my knowledge.
They look like older kids.
He's the second.
Yeah. He's the second. Okay, then.
Yeah. Here comes the pelican eel. Stay away. He's as strong as a monster and looks like one too. And then we get this sort of quiet panel where he's taking a deep breath. He's collecting his thoughts. We're getting a good look of his like good Charlotte Misfits jacket.
I like it.
I would get this jacket. I wouldn't be able to pull off this jacket, but I would get this jacket.
Flampe is in a panic. What are you doing, people? The monster's getting away. She's pinned Katakuri as a monster, just like the kids in his childhood. Getting some parallels to the childhood we saw of Pudding earlier in the arc.
Yeah, that didn't hit me over the head until the second time I read this, but like it's right there.
Yeah, she's informing her Flampinions. Is that what we're calling them? Or whatever Zach said.
Yeah, I said Flampinions. Yeah.
Yeah, Flampinions. Take photos so we can show everyone his hideous face. And they're like, oh yeah, and they're all snapping pictures.
It's
and
the
they're all
Flamparazzi.
Oh my god!
I'm on a roll tonight, man.
There's a title. We're gonna send these pictures to every member of the fan club, to every island in Totoland. How dare you splatter your filthy blood on me and threaten the most popular sibling of all? You're not my perfect brother. You're just a gross loser. I'm ashamed to admit I'm related to you. You're gonna get it. Both of you are gonna get it now.
Sam,
and,
you have to work on your Californian accent. It's not there.
You do not want to hear me try accents.
Their Valley Girl accent or whatever it's called.
And Katakuri is just completely ignoring them. Sorry about that. I was sloppy. I failed to notice the tiny needle. And he's huffing and puffing. He's like, okay, there's no such thing as a dirty fight. There's no such thing as a dirty fight between pirates. It was my fault for not being able to dodge it, being the weirdly good sport about it. And Katakuri he's glaring up. He and Luffy are both glaring up in this sort of shared split panel. I've had enough of the peanut gallery. And Luffy's following up with, they won't be able to stand after this anyway.
What won't they be able to stand after, Ed? Oh, wait.
I was going to say one thing, which is that if you asked me, now I don't know this for sure, but if you asked me that Luffy, if you had asked, okay, has Luffy ever admonished another pirate in this past of the series? Has he ever like had one of those, classic Shonen Jump moments where he scolds the bad guy for fighting dirty or like, being unbecoming in some certain way? I would probably take that bet because I feel like it's such a classic trope, like when Kuro is slashing up his buddies or something like that.
He gets mad at guys for beating up their own crew.
That's not him though. Like,
I guess that's true. Yeah.
Or using human shields. I think he's gotten angry at that.
Yeah, but he's like, this is a fight this is something he messed up on. Maybe he has.
Then again, like when Luffy was on Eni's lobby, he used the ally robot technique on that stupid marine. So, I don't think he has room to get angry about it.
I suppose.
Oh, but the ally robot was an amazing technique.
It was.
That took me that entire time to figure out what you were talking about. Ed, what happens on the next page?
It's a big boom, and it's like a crack of lightning, black lightning.
Someone's going Super Saiyan 2 here.
Yeah, but yeah, rocks are flying all over the Miro world. The Flampinions, they go glog and flop, and they fall on the floor.
Whoa, those were some.
And Flampe does not go out unconscious immediately. She's like Supreme King from the Monkey 2, and then she foams to nothing, goes down.
So do we think they're both using Conqueror Saki?
Yes,
absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
And if Flampe would have known that her brother had that, it seems that.
And not only that, is she calling him just by his first name, or is she trying to be derogatory?
She's literally calling him a monkey.
Because I mean, has anyone actually called him? Oh, the only thing I could Shocky.
It's family names.
Didn't Shocky call him Monkey Chan or something?
Probably.
I don't know. Go ahead, Ed.
Yeah. Katakuri, he throws his cool jacket off.
Yeah, go ahead.
Cool fast, really. And he falls to the ground. He says, I no longer assume that you are inferior to me. Luffy's like, that's great, thanks. I'm still going to win.
I don't see that intonation in his voice, but sure.
Like there's exclamation like, that's great, thanks.
I really don't think that's what he sounds like there. You're making him sound like a cartoon character from the 1990s.
I don't know.
Maybe it's just the angle that he drew Luffy, but it still looks like he's missing a big old part of his side there.
Yeah, Whitebeard style.
Yeah,
I'm wondering if that's gonna grow back as a scar, or if it's just gonna grow back normal.
Well, see, that's the thing. I can't I'm not sure if that's actually like missing flesh or because the shirt is definitely torn there, but that could just be the side, the curve of his side. You can see it in Katakuri's.
I definitely get the impression that it's supposed to look like he has a chunk, has some of a chunk taking out, but not like so much that it couldn't grow back, like through healing.
Yeah,
in manga logic,
bandages. And that's a very old.
I was even thinking it's like Chopper's in this arc, right? So so he could take more damage than he normally.
Right.
I feel like
but not,
he'd be able to take if he weren't around.
But not like a Manchury type thing.
Yeah,
you wouldn't be able to heal that much.
No, but Chopper's like the doctor, and he does a lot of doctoring, as I recall.
Like with the Manchury thing, it would come back, and he wouldn't even have a scar. Like he'll definitely have something from.
Is that how Manchury's thing worked?
If I remember correctly, yeah.
Wasn't there? Oh no, am I thinking of a
different
series?
Matter.
Not anymore.
There's a lot of healing powers in a lot of series. So
could be from Bleach. Yeah, I'm not.
Wasn't there one where you turn back time and it heals it? Oh, that is Bleach. Yeah, I'm thinking of Bleach.
Well, that was My Hero Academia.
Is that also My Hero Academia?
There's a rewinding power that. Yeah. Anyways.
I need to catch up with that at some point before Sam murders me. That I'm way behind in that.
I only skimmed the manga.
Can I just start off this?
Fine, go for it. What are your thoughts?
When did we get this idea that Katakuri was chivalrous?
So I was actually
is that kind of out of nowhere, or was I not picking up on it?
I saw a lot of fans mention this, and I think it's going to come up a lot and piece together. So I guess we could talk about it here. I don't think he's being chivalrous. I think as Luffy has shown himself to be more and more.
Wait, do you mean chivalrous as in anything gendered, or just like the
no,
fact he's
just
honorable?
like having a Goku having a fair fight.
Sporting, yeah. I think it's the stronger Luffy has shown himself to be, the more Katakuri has respected him as an opponent.
Yes, he didn't, and even at the beginning of their fight in the Miro world, he didn't respect him
exactly.
Not until last week, really. Which kind of makes sense that he would be acting a little bit different this week.
Right. So I think that obviously something switched in Katakuri's brain. It was probably around the time he discovered what his actual face looked like, maybe a bit after that. So that's what I think it is. I don't think he's naturally just chivalrous and nice to people. I think it's like, ooh, I found a real opponent. It's like a
right. Well, yeah, and thing. I think the villains are the heart of this arc. Like they're the ones who are going on an arc, like a traditional character arc, the most. I think is sort of
like they've had no disruptions to their life. Like I mean, except for was it Rouge defeated one of the generals, but they subdued him pretty much.
And that was Snack. Who cares about Snack? We never even saw Snack. Who the hell is Snack?
Good point.
Ed, thoughts on the chapter?
I mean, I like where it's going because I like the foreshadowing that they're doing with he was treated the same way that Pudding was as a child. So I wonder if he has any sort of resentment toward Mama over any of this, or does he blame, or does he even think that way? Katakuri is a much more interesting character to me after this chapter, and that's really the main positive I got out of it. And there's some really badass panels of Katakuri yelling in Flambe's face, the Supreme King page. There's a lot of good art and sort of transitions in general. I think there was the one with when she gets blood in her face. There's a 4-panel across the middle of the page like that, and some good layout. But Katakuri is just much more interesting to me after this. So, but otherwise, there wasn't a lot going on plot wise in this chapter, but it was a lot of cool art, basically.
Sam.
Okay, bear with me. I'm still kind of figuring out how to articulate my feelings. I've been on a ride with this chapter since it came out this morning.
Yeah, me too.
Because I think I kind of hated it at first. I was really disappointed by how sharp how quick the Flambe's turn is. I was already kind of expecting something like this. I was thinking maybe we were going to see Katakuri make his big weird donut face, and then Flampe would have to figure out how she feels about Katakuri looking goofy.
But it really does validate it really does validate how Katakuri's been acting his entire life with hiding this from his family. It really does.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, because this whole this family is like, there are a bunch of people who don't really accept each other for who they really are, and that's like a big defining quality of theirs.
Mama's stated aims of Totoland, like bringing. Well, yeah,
that's a deliberately ironic relationship.
It's like wasps in Connecticut who can't like take even like a little thing that's off. No offense to our wasps in Connecticut fans, but it is also weird. Yeah, I think that. But the what is it? The having all races under one roof thing is just Mother Carmel's kind of installation in her brain. I don't even think it's something that Big Mom personally cares about.
Well, no, I think it's an example of like Big Mom, like she like her desire to unite all of the races is really this like low-key selfish childish goal of hers that's been instilled in her from childhood. Plus, and the fact that it is insincere is gonna bite her in the ass as her life goes on.
Yeah.
Where this chapter really where I really started to think about this chapter differently is when it sort of clicked with me that this chapter is pretty blatantly like about Oda's like relationship with overzealous fans. Because once you think about it that way, like it's not subtle about that at all. Like Flampay is the leader of the Katakuri fan club, and she's got all these expectations that she holds Katakuri to.
Are we Flampay?
I think we can be Flampay for sure.
I don't know if Oda acknowledges the non-Japanese fan base as much.
This is definitely like
Sam.
Something that's
Sam, are we the Flamparazzi? Is that what you're saying?
Sometimes we are Flampay, yeah.
And okay, sorry, go ahead.
Well, I'm more of a Flampanian.
In my time being caught up with this arc, like, I mean, part of it's just like the circle that I'm in, but like this has definitely been like kind of one of the more controversial arcs since I've been caught up, where like there's just like hot takes left and right, people just feeling very, very strongly about various storytelling decisions that Oda makes, and a lot of them involving like the female characters and like doing what he's doing with Pudding and all that. And like it's hard to know like how you're right, like how much of that does reach Oda, like how much is the Japanese fan base having that conversation, how much is our conversation reaching Oda. But like the thing that is so, where was I going with this? I'm sorry. Like I said, I'm like my thoughts are running a mile a minute.
With Flampay in particular, though.
Yeah, but Flampay is a character who has very high expectations of Katakuri. She is trying to help Katakuri / criticize Katakuri, not really because she wants to help, but because there's this other validation that she wants for herself. And that's the thing you see in fans.
Yeah.
I think the only really missing piece for me is like I would have wanted to see a moment where Flampay feels conflicted rather than just like a switch flipping. Like we want to see her being like, oh no, I really don't like that about Katakuri, but I want to like Katakuri because it's so tied to my identity, and stuff like that.
I mean, if you want to take your analogy, to I guess its nth degree, I think he's talking about a specific type of fan that loves him for more Trafalgar Law. Make sure he's in it all the time. Make him cool. Make him not do anything weird. And then he's like, no, I'm going to do exactly the thing you don't want me to do with whatever character it is. I was just
exactly like to me like the scene like the scene like where Katakuri stabs himself. He deliberately handicaps himself. Is to me like that's how I felt when the oh your eye is so beautiful scene happened with Pudding. Like it was like this, like Oda's just doing this really crazy audacious thing that's obviously not going to make everybody happy, but it's a challenge that he's creating for himself. He's like, can I still salvage this and make a likable character by the end of the arc? I think what the story of this chapter is that we're sort of kind of silencing like all the noise, all the opinions that like people, if you're a really popular author, that you're going to be hearing nonstop, no doubt, right? And so like this is kind of a moment where it's like, okay, we're not going to listen to what other people have to say. We're not going to worry about making everybody else happy. I can't change the fact that I'm a handsome man with a gross mouth. So I'm just gonna put my dukes up, and I'm gonna do what this story does best, and like create a story that's all about conviction and gusto and personality, and that's where this chapter arrives by the end.
You know, that explains why Oda hasn't released a picture of himself in so long. He knows the audience will judge him for his katakuri, like, what was it? A pelican eel mouth. We all know Oda has one. Prove it, Oda. Prove that you don't.
I looked at the pictures of that pelican eel, man. That's horrifying.
Yeah. Thank you for linking that. All you have to do is Wikipedia pelican eel, and you could get a nice look as to what they're referring to. Oda, I think, does a pretty good job at portraying it in a cartoonish way. Sam, any other thoughts?
I think that's most of them.
Steven?
Okay. Yeah, my opinion on this chapter has softened a bit since seeing the next chapter, which is always, always kind of transitions you out of how you feel about any particular chapter. But I will admit that my first impression and still my overall feeling about this chapter is that this is a bad fucking chapter. I was not a fan of this one. It honestly felt to me like a bit like, a Queen Orc of Vacusuck type of moment.
Yeah.
Although, like trying to figure out what it was that was irritating me about it, they're kind of two separate things that in combination really bugged me. And one of them is simply it has more to do with like the writing of the arc, and I think ultimately what it comes down to is that for whatever reason, if it was just because of the flow of the plot or some miscalculation or something like that, like this chapter made it very clear to me that Oda started the Luffy and Katakuri fight way too early, because we've been watching this for, God, what has it been, like 15 chapters now or something? It feels like that, at least a dozen chapters where Luffy and Katakuri have been kind of locked in this, drag them out, a slobber knocker, as Ed likes to call it.
There you go.
That's been exciting, but I think that the thing with that, and it was, very like evenly matched. It was always the similar powers, and we could tell that by archetype this was going to be similar to a Luffy fight, where it's going to be a very physical battle. It's not going to be as much about utilizing the particular characteristics of your devil fruit or whatever. It's more about just power and technique and so on. And having them kind of be in somewhat of a stalemate has been the kind of going pattern of this fight. It's like they fight, Luffy gets knocked around a bit. He manages to get Katakuri back a little bit, but he's still worse for the wear. And then we kind of get back to square one. They square off again. They fight some more. And we've been seeing this over and over and over again. And here we are again. Is the same thing. Now this time, the difference is that Katakuri has shown that he respects Luffy as an equal, as a combatant, and it's definitely more of a like, okay, now it's really on than before. But this is also like the fourth time or so that we've had this point in this fight, and every time you do that, it makes each of the previous ones make less of an impact, and it just feels like he miscalculated that. And so it felt like a lot of this was maybe not, I don't know. It felt like it was more of a like side statement from Oda, that in other words, he used this chapter to kind of to complete the little Flampe cycle of, okay, here's the character who idolizes Katakuri, who would be shocked if he had a weird mouth. And then she sees the weird mouth. And, then it's going to, we're going to see Katakuri kind of own up to that in the face of those who see him as cool. We all kind of guessed that this was going to happen, but it felt very artificial. Like she is a gag character. Like I feel like she's very, very flat. And also I didn't like that in terms of the execution of this chapter, that he spent the entire chapter in this scene. It felt to me like it felt to me like this was Oda writing an anime episode in a chapter.
Yeah.
In other words, in the sense that like it's repeating the same jokes. Like you have these same like these chuckle fucks that are just going on and on about the knocking of the knees. They're just repeating themselves. It happened over and over, and it was very frustrating. I will admit, as the translator, to translate this chapter because there was only so much that is being said. The most interesting stuff in this chapter is kind of the subtext, the stuff that Sam was talking about. And there's a lot of dialogue in this chapter for not a lot that is being said. There's a lot of repetition, and it was very irritating to try to get through.
As I was thinking about this, after I was watching the anime before we did the recap, and I was thinking that in a week where there is both a chapter and an anime episode, I don't know if less has happened in either.
Yeah. Now,
and this is a particularly sparse anime episode this week as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So now, having gotten that off of my chest, I do think that there is some really good stuff in this chapter. I love the end point. I think when me and Greg talked about this chapter, we both agreed that like Katakuri, like taking off the jacket with the tattoos and just like they look like boxers squaring off. Now he looks awesome. Now like I really like this kind of version of Katakuri. It's a great statement from him. It's just the kind of thing where like I wish we had gotten to this point way earlier, that we didn't have to kind of sit through a bunch of kind of scrambling to get to this point.
You mean filler? The word you're looking for is filler. Yeah. Is that all? Is that all you have?
Yeah.
Steven?
There you go. Mm-hmm.
Is it possible for me to agree with everyone? Is that just a cop-out answer?
Well, there's text and there's subtext.
I think,
and then there's the big mystery of like how is this all going to actually flow together when it's in Tankobon, and
Steven knows more of how this is flowing together than we do. But the first time I read it, I think I didn't feel quite as strongly as Steven about the chapter, but it definitely
kind of like what the fuck?
No, it definitely echoes Vacusuck, Queen Orica Vacusuck. It like even the way the chapters kind of organize and the two kind of machismo characters with the female kind of playing a flat two-dimensional role. The problem with Queen Orica Vacusuck was also that machismo takes a really just crazy sexist, chauvinistic kind of tone.
I wouldn't say the same about this one.
No, sure. I'm not, and I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I think this is kind of, if you were to do that chapter again in a better way, this would be that.
Sure.
But it definitely has a lot of the pitfalls of that.
Oda's just like, I'll do it again. I will show them. I'll fix the one thing that was wrong.
The chauvinism was the problem. But there were other problems, and that chapter is the worst chapter of One Piece in my opinion. I'm just going to say it. For many reasons. It's not just the chauvinism. It's also because of all the kind of reasons that Stephen mentioned. This chapter had issues. It also was like the middle of a fight that dragged on for like 10 volumes. And didn't end up going anywhere for that one in particular. So even in retrospect, that one is worse for the wear. It had all the good stuff happening.
All the good stuff happening in this fight right now sort of, it makes it the earlier parts of it where nothing was happening seem just, it's like the first 15 minutes of a 60-minute draw in a wrestling match, because 60-minute draws are almost never good.
But the thing is, so I could go through all the bad parts of the Queen Orica Vacusuck chapter. For those who don't know, or not longtime podcast listeners, this is the Dressrosa character. What the hell is her actual name?
Queen.
Yeah, who fought, or who was trying to fight the Tontadas, and it was in the middle of Frankie and...
She had a vacuum.
She had a vacuum, yeah.
She had a vacuum, and it was Frankie versus, I'm so happy I forgot, Baby 5.
Senor
Baby 5, Senor Pink. I thought Baby 5 because of the diaper. Senor Pink. Wow, I've really repressed Dressrosa, guys. This chapter...
Senor Pink is just Baby Man Crybaby, isn't he?
Baby Man Crybaby.
I'll write that down,
boy.
But I don't know if that works for the rest of the chapter. I still have to... What? Baby Man Cry Baby. It's a little redundant. Anyway, this chapter, I I don't hate. I think it did a lot of the mistakes it had were the same mistakes that were in that chapter, but a lot less. So, I agree with the endpoint thing. I love that last page. It's a great last page. I love Katakuri's development of character here. I think this chapter did that very well. I think a lot of the flaws that come with this chapter, as Stephen put it, is that there are so many chapters before this where this should have happened.
Right.
Also, just the introduction of Flampe, I complained about when that happened a chapter or two ago, and it kind of paid off and kind of didn't pay off at the same time. She is going to.
It confirmed the worst suspicions that we had about her, which is that she's a gag set piece.
Yeah,
she's there to serve a very specific purpose and no other.
Yeah, and you're supposed to hate her, and I do hate her, so great. But whatever. You also know that she's going to go down pretty easily at some point in this chapter. It's kind of predictable steps that Oda takes, and Oda doesn't usually do that. So when Oda does it, it kind of disappoints us. But then you bring in what Sam was talking about. That, okay, I'm going to take predictable steps, and he stabs himself. And it's like, I like that Oda is saying kind of two things at the same time with this chapter. I think, so to round off my very rambling point here, the text of this chapter is meh. The subtext of this chapter, I think, is great. The art in this chapter, I think, is fantastic. And the character development in this chapter, I think, is pretty good. So that's my opinion, but I definitely get how it feels like an anime episode. I mean, Sam, you'd probably be able to speak to that better at this point than me. But I hate minions cackling in the background. Anyway,
yeah. The problem with saying that was the anime was doing so well a couple months ago, and just had a rough run last little bit.
But that's always how the anime goes. Sam, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's stretches.
That's always how it goes.
There's stretches of great episodes, stretches of terrible episodes, stretches of great. Like even DBZ kind of back in the day had the same kind of thing. Cause
DBZ had the worst.
Yeah, DBZ had it. Although I think it's switched back and forth a lot quicker. Like it would good episode, bad episode, good episode, bad episode, like that. With One Piece, it feels like they're like kind of sometimes a few good ones,
4 episodes at a time,
and then a few bad ones, and then a few good ones. One Piece didn't used to have that, and that's what's so frustrating about the anime, and that's a whole other topic of conversation. I did not expect to be talking about this chapter nearly this long. It's not been so long, but I thought this felt like a quick chapter to read. But yeah, I think good discussion. Why don't we get into our anime recap? Sam, are you ready?
Sure am. This is the anime recap for episode 824, The Rendezvous, Luffy, a one-on-one at his limit, which is like a really hard sentence grammatically.
And also not accurate.
Right.
Like...
I'm your host, Sam, and today with me we have, as you can hear, we have Ed.
My worst fears, as I spoke about last week's next episode preview, have come true.
Yeah, because with...
I predicted it.
Sanji finding Luffy at like the very, very end. Yeah.
And like, Luffy didn't even wait. Okay, let's wait to get there.
All right, so we open with the continued fight between Luffy and... I found out this guy's name. It's Charlotte Counter. And Counter is basically just kicking his ass. Like they're in a real tough looking fight. They're really giving it their all. The whole fight throughout the episode looks pretty good, I would say.
I question why it had to go on for so. I mean, I understand like seeing the brutality of it, but there was a point it was just repetitive.
Yeah, I agree. We have Sanji running to the quote unquote rendezvous, as mentioned in the title, and he's got Bobbins after him. Bobbins, who he kicked in, I think 2 episodes ago now? Is that...
I don't know. I watched like 3 episodes at once, so it's hard for me to remember what exactly happened in which episode.
But Bobbins is after Sanji, because he wants to get revenge. And we come back to the mirror world, where Brook is shocked to discover that he's been rescued. He's amazed that the crew pulled it off. He's amazed by everything that he's seeing. Turns out, plot twist, Brook had the poneglyph rubbings in his head this whole time. They're just like these giant folded up pieces of paper that he's keeping in that little compartment in his skull where he keeps his tone dial. And I love Carrot and Jinbei's reactions because they didn't know about this, so they're just like, "What?"
There's a lot of things people didn't know. There's a lot of catching up in these in this mirror world.
Yeah, I really enjoyed like all the big reactions as like everyone's either Carrot and Jinbei are shocked to see that Brook can open his head up, or the rest of the crew are shocked that Brook actually did get the poneglyph rubbings. It's like it's this great kind of punchline to Pedro being like, "Oh, I knew it. It was a 1 in a million chance. I guess we shouldn't have expected that we were gonna get that thing." And then Brook's just like, "Oh, I got that thing.
I got that thing. I got that thing."
Yeah.
Yeah, and Brook gets to be serious a little bit, but then he also does a skull joke. So
And
I like serious, determined Brook of like doing the actual job, but then there's also like all of the boob jokes and stuff.
yeah. Nami gives him a good boob hug as a reward. Everyone's cheering together.
Show.
Yeah,
this is a children's show.
Everyone's cheering together. Yeah, this is one of those episodes where it's just like, you drew him a little too big.
The animators need a girlfriend,
right? We come back to Luffy versus Counter. There's like they really have like a motif of match cuts between Luffy and Sanji, where like we will have like a big profile of Luffy throwing a big punch, and then that will be a match cut to Sanji's profile running forward. And we get a big action scene. I think the song this time is it's Luffy's Fierce Attack from movie 5, I think. I always like those songs, so I get excited when I hear them. Big action scene. Like they really kind of go kind of crazy with this scene where like they
were driving a lot of drama out of this Sanji Luffy reunion, and like how hard it was for Sanji to find him and everything. But it's like, man, this is the middle of the arc. You can't keep doing this. Like, you can't keep manufacturing drama just by drawing things out. Like, this isn't the end of the arc.
I feel like you and I are on like the opposite wavelength, where like I'm feeling that at certain points, and you're just like, I'm just going with it, and you're feeling this now, and I'm just kind of going with it.
Yeah. I mean, there was more. The style actually was really good, and the directing, I think, was particularly strong in this. But it's just in the service of something I don't enjoy.
Yeah, it's a lot of like really heavy blacks for shadows, like where like a lot of the details getting kind of smushed together because it's
not
all
quite
black.
Batman the Animated Series, but it's similar.
Yes, they're doing some like crazy things with like warping the background and stuff, and so yeah, and intercut to this action scene, we've got some of like Sanji doing like a Naruto run, basically,
or a Devilman run.
Yeah, well, no, you need to like be waving your arms to do the Devilman.
That's the LeVar Ball.
There's this actually like I really like how this part of the fight kind of unfolds, where they're both like throwing their punches at each other. Counter gets like a really good punch in on Luffy, and it looks like he's got him. But then Luffy, he doesn't give up. He's able to get another punch back in, but it doesn't seem to be enough. And like, they're really kind of emphasizing the desperation of this fight really, really well through the action. We come back to the mirror world, where the crew finds out that they cannot find Luffy and Sanji through the mirrors. Nami has an idea of where they could be. She thinks they might be trying to meet up at the place where they fought, and Chopper is shocked to hear that they fought. I guess he didn't know this entire time. Yeah,
I mean, they got separated in the Seducing Woods, right?
Right, yeah. Jinbei brings up Peckham's, and he's sort of warning them that there's another group.
He does
out
another
there.
One of those, as you know.
Yeah, as you know. We're being reminded that there's other pirate group in this arc that we might be want to be wary of, the Beige Capone guys. And
it's heavily implied in the episode that they shot Bobbin.
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, like, we see the mysterious figure hiding in the corner, and we recognize the figure. It's our good old friend Vito. And they're talking about the scene where they were holding Peckham's up against the cliff, and they shot him. And Jinbei's talking about how if quote unquote we did not notice, he would be dead. And it's not super clear in the scene that he's talking about like, oh, he and the other fishmen saved Peckham's, but that's
he says we, but that's about it. That's as far as he goes.
Yeah.
I was thinking about why the drawing out of this, especially the Sanji part, annoyed me so much in this episode, and I think it's because Sanji had already made the emotional decision to go to Luffy,
Mhm.
but we're making that take so much longer. Like, it was more interesting to me when we were when the filler was sort of feeding into his emotional conflict. But once he's made the decision, it's just like, let's just traverse the physical space quickly.
I feel like I think that's another case where you and I are just on the opposite side. Where like the dawdling too long on the emotional conflict just gets tiring, and then like drawing out the conviction, I think, is a lot more interesting. We come to the Vince Smokes. We're seeing their like pre-wedding drunk party. Like they're getting like totally ridiculously smashed, and they know they're gonna do it again tomorrow night.
Well, it's also like these were spies. They'd been talked about in previous episodes. That the barmaids were
The girls,
spies.
yeah.
Yeah, and it's like you should have expected that they have the capacity to drink inhumanely. You know, it's like their entire bodies are modified. How could they not?
Yeah, they got the giant barrels of ale that they're drinking, and
It wasn't just to work hard; it was to play hard too.
yeah, and I love the lighting in this scene where it's like really like atmospheric and like neon and blue and dark and
well, this is again one of the things that reminded me of Batman the Animated Series.
yeah, and they're talking about how they're getting excited. They don't know that they're about to walk into a trap, but they're getting excited that they're about to conquer the North Blue once again. I love this little scene. This is another cool example of direction where Judge is talking about like, oh, it's a good thing we found a use for that Sanji, and like we're staring at an empty seat where Sanji would theoretically be if he was really a part of the family, and then Yonji just like hops into the seat without a care in the world. I think that's a cool little motif.
Is it when we get the montage of everyone all around Whole Cake Island?
Yeah, we get a little montage of like basically everyone's sleeping. Like you see Big Mom sleeping with the fake Brook. You see Reiju, she's awake. We see Judge, and his eyebrows are conspicuously shaded out so that we can't see it yet. Bobbins, he's been shot. He's bleeding out on the streets.
And the dog who tried to steal the lunchbox is barking at him.
Yeah. So Sanji finally arrives at the battlefield. I do kind of like how this kind of plays out, where we don't know for sure the outcome of Luffy's fight with Counter. It looked like he was on his way to losing, but then Sanji shows up. We're way later in the night, basically.
That was really cool. That was one of the things I really enjoyed. Actually,
yeah,
all that sort of smart editing. That was fun to watch.
And basically just a whole field of unconscious pirates and soldiers. And I don't know how much of this is from Luffy's most recent fight, or if that's just like left over from when they originally caught Luffy.
Right.
Which you'd think they'd clean up their own guys if they've been sitting around that long.
But they're just homies, right? Those are just the chess piece keepers.
Well, there's chess piece keepers, but then there's also like tons of like humans that like Sanji's digging through and trying to find Luffy. And there's like, I kind of like how like there'll be a guy who looks like Luffy, and then we'll roll him over, and it's not at all Luffy. And I kind of like how it really does look like it's Luffy at first, but then once you actually see the full design, it's like, oh wait, no, that's not Luffy at all.
Although it was interesting, I noticed like one of those hats had like the 3 feathers badge on it. It looked like someone from Goa.
Yeah, he's thinking about the rock where he knocked Luffy out by. He's looking for Luffy, cannot find him until he's like shouting, "Luffy, where are you?" And then
we just hear,
yeah, exactly. We hear the stomach rumbling. We see Luffy. He looks like a mummy. He's like up against. I think it's King Bomb, who's just like taking a nap with everyone else. Luffy is he's completely out cold. He's hungry. He's starving. But Sanji is relieved to have found his friend. To be continued.
He doesn't even wake up.
Any general thoughts on the episode, Ed?
I think I've said most of what I need to say. There were aspects of this that were fun to watch and were pretty, but it's also, man, I didn't need to see all of that.
Yeah, I enjoyed this episode pretty much the whole way through. I do agree that like, in an ideal world, we would not have spent this much time on just getting Luffy and Sanji back together again. Like that got tiring several episodes ago. But I was able to go with it, and I do think that for what they're trying to do, they did a good job. And I thought that this was like a really strongly directed episode in general. Like there's a lot of cool visual ideas that they're playing with here that I think are positive.
Right. I mean, it's basic. I think it's basic film theory stuff, but it's creative application. So you don't see stuff like this in One Piece every week,
right?
Like, and frankly, I think they should take advantage of it more often. I guess there's a certain level of skilled directors that they have.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't have that every week, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think that just about does it. You ready to move on to the next segment?
Sure.
All right.
This is the Piece Together segment where we take your questions, comments, and theories and then dissect them. And then we take your opinions and we just go in a completely different direction because we don't have to listen to you. Why don't we start with what am I doing? Ed.
Oh, Zach, it's time for this piece.
Thank you. Sam, why don't you start us off?
All right. So our first question. Okay. Now, I've always had trouble with this person's name. And the second I can figure out how to say hyperbole. Actually, no, I can't say it. No. But they've changed their name to Herper Burler.
I much prefer this one.
Who says, I was re-listening to the Zoarc podcast episodes and noticed that the donation asked for elephant-related charities. Would you consider having arc-related donation campaigns for future arcs? What would your picks be for Whole Cake Island, and what would you have picked for past arcs? And they also want to correct us and say that they are not a dude. I guess we've been referring to them as he.
I always assumed a hyperbola bully was a man for some reason. No.
I mean, we're all dudes in a manner of speaking, as Good Burger says.
The royal dude.
Yeah,
it's the royal dude. It's the second person dude. Yeah, I would love to do charities for all arcs. I mean, I guess for Whole Cake
you were already involved with elephants though before, right?
What do you mean involved with elephants?
I mean, it's like the cause of elephants is something you'd cared about.
Oh, yeah. And Steve is a huge elephant fan. We're all big fans of elephants and animals, and if you haven't noticed by our dog-related questions recently. But
for Alabasta, it could be like something of, areas that are in drought could use some support.
Yeah, Whole Cake Island hunger, I think, just since there's such gluttony. Maybe in the future, I think we should definitely do that. I think that's a good idea.
Dressrosa would be like, human trafficking or slavery or something.
Yeah, because I mean, there's like a million things that deserve attention. So I guess if One Piece,
if you're in Piece Together and if you have suggestions,
I mean, if there are charitable things you think people should, we'll always read that. As you may know from Anime Fans Give Back, we are very pro charity and charitable causes. So
yeah. It's going to be really convenient when Oda decides that a central theme of the Elbaf arc is going to be like fibromyalgia research or something.
I mean, Dressrosa lead poisoning.
That's right.
A legitimate, or at least wasn't there what is it in Michigan, the Flint lead poisoning that would have been appropriate. I don't think those intersected time-wise. But although I don't know if there are charitable causes for that, but you should donate to those charitable causes.
That'd be great.
Anyway, before we make everyone run out of all their money, Sam?
Our next few questions are from Morgil. Lately, I've been really getting into the Dragon Quest games, and I know that the franchise is huge in Japan, potentially even more popular than One Piece. So my question is, if the Straw Hat Crew were in a Dragon Quest game, or I suppose just any fantasy-style RPG, what role would each character play?
Oh man, I didn't know half of those words.
They kind of, they kind of have roles on the crew already, right? So a lot of them are just kind of doubling that.
Aren't we kind of in an RPG in a way? Wasn't
there like an omake?
It's all a simulation.
Wasn't there an omake like this?
Yeah, there was. I think he even like made the title like a Drakue.
Steven.
Pun, something like that.
Tangential question. Are they still doing omakes in the new logbooks?
I don't know. I don't own any of those. I never bought them, so I don't know.
I bought them, but I gave it away, I think, at one of the conventions. So if you're the one we gave it away to, please let us know.
I would have sworn that if he was still doing the 3-page gag things, that people would be like, we would be seeing them posted online because people love sharing those. They're
Sandman. Whenever something new comes out, he's got a little summary or something.
That's true. Yeah. But those are. I don't know if they very much gets announced in those logbooks, but yeah, someone on the internet probably would have probably posted that. Anyway, Sam.
Morgil's next question is, so what was up with the really weird author comment Oda wrote this week? We did talk about this earlier in the manga recap. And then his last question is, so are the scanlators going to now start calling him Charlotte Pelican Eeltooth?
What is his fake name again in the scanlations? I don't remember.
Dogtooth.
Okay.
So if they want to be accurate, yes.
Yeah.
Pelican Eeltooth.
now that joke makes more sense.
And our last this piece is from Straw Hat Pirate 9. I got my friend Ryan reading One Piece for the first time. He only knows bits and pieces, wasn't even aware of what happens to Ace, but to the point he started reading them on But to the point he started reading them on the Monday after Thanksgiving and started today. He is on volume 61, beginning the time skip and entering the new world. So in about 2 months, he read 60 volumes. This a new world record or what? P.S. He's totally loving it. We are going to marathon some OP movies once he reads the remaining volumes.
That's a good thing to marathon after.
You know, it's not hard to do a volume a day, especially if doing it every day for 60 days is the hard part.
I did a volume a day when we were doing the read through. Although to be fair, that was also just basically rehashing material that I already knew, just as a refresher, kind of. So that's probably a different thing. But you can do it.
I'll bet that he's going to want to go back and like reread the whole thing from scratch because there's going to be so much that he missed.
We've done it a few times.
If you're hooked on the story, reading through a lot of manga is not that difficult. But having access to that much manga is more difficult. It's trickier.
There are digital sales and the box sets that does make it easier.
Yeah. And the digital volumes make it like kind of seamless between volumes. You're just going to keep going and going. Do you want to read? It's like Netflix, you know. Do you want to read the next one? Are you watching this too long?
Are you still reading?
I'm still reading this. I'm not getting up. At
least the Viz app doesn't take out billboards to roast you, like Spotify and Netflix do. They're like, you're like 14 people who watched A Christmas Prince like 30 times in a row. Like, who hurt you? Like, that's what I like you to use my name, or just take out ads, just making fun of people.
Anyway. We should probably take more ads making fun of people, though. Thank you, Ed, for that very genuine suggestion. This email comes from Martin, who said, I submitted a theory that Pedro did not, in fact, die in that explosion, but instead of Oda... did in fact die in the explosion. But instead of Oda pulling an ass pull... How do you pull an ass pull? What is an ass pull? Anyway.
Deus Ex Machina is basically what
ass-pulception.
I wish I could name the episode that, but no.
Hold on, I need to go find the Latin word for ass.
To bring him back, it would be Pudding, who will use her memory powers on the homie that inherited his 50 years of life. This would make sense for the Scarecrow in Chapter 875, who crosses swords with him. I apologize if this has been submitted before. I know Oda has been listening to a lot of Nightmare Before Christmas while drawing this arc. That was in the One Piece magazine. Good memory there. And the idea of the Straw Hats befriending a Pumpkin King who is Pedro seems fitting. That is an interesting theory. I don't know. Do you guys have thoughts?
It is interesting. I don't think that's likely to...
Well, what's the deal with the pumpkin guy?
Things.
Not to be the Jerry Seinfeld of this
okay,
podcast.
yeah. People were talking about that because he's like, oh, you're Pedro, right? When they were, ganging up on Pedro. And I took that to just be like, oh, they're just making sure, okay, yeah, you're Pedro. You're the guy we're after. And then they attack. But a lot of people kind of ran with that, like, oh, he says, he mentioned Pedro by name because he must know him somehow. And I just don't think that's what is actually going on. So yeah.
Okay. What do we got next? I don't think we have a lot of email this week. You want to move right on to Reddit?
Sure, we can go to Reddit. Zalumi says that Katakuri sure is one swell guy. It's both unusual and refreshing to see an antagonist show such respect towards Luffy. If Katakuri becomes a reoccurring character after this arc, do you see him playing the role of rival or frenemy like Vegeta?
I mean, if they stick around, probably just friend.
Yeah,
but that's assuming that's the direction that goes in. I don't see much of a reason for them to be like contentious rivals.
Right.
I don't know if I see a reason for them to be in the story after this.
Yeah, the reason that it works for Buggy is because Buggy wants to be the Pirate King too. So it's natural that they are going to continue intersecting in certain ways. But I mean, I don't know. Yeah, that would be a very weird thing for Katakuri to suddenly become an ongoing character.
And especially, I mean, unless he leaves the family, because it seems like the family's going to be cleaning up the mess that Totoland is in at the moment. If this arc goes badly for them, like, and then they're going to Kaido's territory in Wano, and I don't really see a place for them there for the next few years. So,
yeah, well, I don't think he doesn't normally do like holdovers to the next arc unless they're already friends. But yeah, we'll move on to Hockey Scooch, who says that I think when Big Mom finally eats Sanji's cake, she will eat several of her children, similar to her flashback when she was little. Okay, is that what we're going? She's going to eat. Oh, this tastes familiar. Well, she's already eaten a couple.
Oh no, I hope one child gets eaten. Perospero. That's all I hope.
Well, actually, yeah, that
and would be appropriate.
She ate, or did she eat Bobbin, or
no? Bobbin got killed by Capone.
Yeah,
killed in quotes.
In this week's episode, actually, anime episode.
In the tease, when we first saw her, wasn't she eating someone?
From Fishman Island.
Yeah.
No, that was.
Well, yeah, it's implied that she eats her subordinates. Yeah.
But Bobbin
it's not like
one.
Explicit, I don't think.
Yeah, but she didn't eat Charlotte Moscato, Minister of Gelato.
No, he just took
That's right. They did take his body away.
Well, she might have not been eating the people. She might have been eating their souls. That might have been what was happening there, and the souls just make a crunch noise. Souls make a crunch noise, guys.
Yeah, that's his get out of jail free card. She
really just eats. Yeah, I mean, a soul is worse to eat than a body, I would think. I've learned anything from The Simpsons.
You can't breathe on glass.
Exactly.
Ogru says, first has a comment saying, thank you for the episode 500 Patreon interviews. It was great learning the history behind the relationships with all of the guests over the years. Well, thank you for supporting us.
Yeah.
Now my question, given that oven heating the sea affected the cake's temperature, do you think Prometheus being as large as he is going to affect the cake or lead to some damage on the flammable liqueur island? That's a good point. Like, looking at the panels with the giant Prometheus, like you can kind of feel that coming off the page. Like, if you've ever been near a very large fire,
also,
stage pyrotechnics.
Isn't that what a flambe is? When you light something on fire with a little alcohol in the pan? Isn't that flambe?
Is flambe the minister of Liqueur Island?
She's going to get lit on fire.
Which would be funny because it'd be like the one underage character whose name we know. It's Liquor Island.
If she gets lit on fire, that might change my opinion about her character.
You could say that really about any character in the series that you don't like. If they got lit on fire.
The extra level of irony with flambe, though.
Yeah, I agree.
Second question is, am I the only one that's hoping for a draw with Luffy's fight? He's taken so much more damage relative to Katakuri that even with this chapter's events, it'll take a writing miracle for a Luffy win to appease readers.
I think I personally am predicting a more kind of what Stephen was saying, the fisticuffs kind of style thing now. And I think it almost has to be close to a double knockout. Like, I've been watching a lot of Yu Yu Hakusho lately. Like, kind of like the end of the Dark Tournament stuff, I think would be as appropriate as it could get for this kind of fight when it's drawn out like this, which the Lucci fight was kind of like. There was that one part of the Doflamingo Luffy fight that was just amazing, where it was just no dialogue, punches and kicks and stuff like that. Seeing something like that would satisfy me.
Yeah, I still think Luffy is going to win, and the main reason for that is because it's been so heavily foreshadowed that he's going to have a breakthrough with his color of observation hockey, and he's going to match Katakuri or outdo Katakuri in terms of
he'll force project himself some to the other side of him and beat him.
Yeah, and he's going to disappear.
And then that'll be it.
All right. Charlotte Throbin says has a comment. They quote a post from Greg, our very own Greg, on Arlong Park, who wrote this after chapter 883.
Was that 10 chapters ago?
Yeah, I guess so. The majority of evil things the Charlotte family has knowingly done were in the realm of being reasonably understandable. This is because, 1, they were being done to evil people and organizations. 2, they were being done to people or organizations that invaded, double-crossed her, or broke agreements with her and knew the consequences. Or 3, they were under orders from mom that were related to above reasons. Katakuri attacking the chefs. This would be after after he was revealed in his little donut shrine. That was a purely sadistic and evil act. It's hard to explain that away and make him a redeemable character after that. Even if they wind up being okay, that act is still very difficult to sweep under the rug. But as a side note, I will say that me and Greg have also had lots of discussions about the way that Oda is portraying, whether on the scale of good or evil, or if they're meant to be redeemable or not. That's been a long time discussion that we've had in the background of all this. So Charlotte Throbin continues. It makes me think Katakuri's character evolution through this fight with Luffy has led to him not ending up as vanquished like Rob Lucci or Doflamingo. Oda rarely has readers feel sorry for antagonists during a fight, and even more rarely has Luffy accepted compliments. I feel like Luffy can still probably win this, but I feel like Oda has made Katakuri so likable to some. Seeing Luffy beat him to near death seems a bit much at this point. I'm curious if, because of the grand scale of the Charlotte family, do you think some of the members like Katakuri could end up involved in future arcs without necessarily having Big Mom reappear as an antagonist? So again, that kind of goes back to the would you see Katakuri reappear?
Yeah, it also makes me think about what he did with Lucci, because he did the exact opposite. He had Doberman tell a story about what a messed up kid he was.
Well, the fear I have is Doflamingo, because I remember being like super interested in because I remember saying that exact thing about Doflamingo when we were getting his childhood. Like, it's like, oh, this is the first villain where we're getting like a tragic backstory before the fight's over and yada yada, and then like they do not like really commit to that at all in Dressrosa. I think that the themes of Whole Cake Island in this like kind of weird complex relationship that these family members have with each other, that's been a pretty clear theme throughout the arc up and including now, and so I think Oda has like a very specific idea of where he wants to go with this. Is sort of where I get a lot of my confidence for this arc from.
Go ahead, Steven.
The parallels with Pudding's backstory that we mentioned, from what little that we have seen of either, are definitely interesting. Interesting in like where is he going with this kind of way? Not necessarily interesting in like I really want to know more kind of way. Because
I absolutely want to know more.
Okay, well, I would say that what he has, like the usage of those has kind of felt a bit perfunctory. Like he hasn't really made it clear that there's some, you really need to know more about them to understand this backstory. Like, in other words, like one panel of Katakuri, people being like, oh, he's a monster or whatever. I guess that didn't really change how I felt about him as a character. So I think, if he was going to continue that subtext further in this fight, then maybe that would change my opinion about it. But
from the moment of the big wedding scene when Pudding breaks down, like my reading of that, like pretty much from the beginning, is that like Sanji sees something sympathetic in her that the audience can't, and the whole and by extension the family, because her problems can be applied to everybody else, and the arc as it unfolds is going to prove him right, and the audience is going to get to see what he saw on sort of a gut instinct.
I want to say a couple things about this, not to belabor this question too much. I mentioned a lot of my thoughts as to how Katakuri as the character has been developing in the manga recap. But I think Oda prides himself on creating gray characters, which I think is one of the reasons I love One Piece. There are very few villains who are 100% evil. There are a lot of villains who are 99% evil.
Yeah, right.
But like they all have a little something. Like so, Arlong.
The ones who like Arlong and Crocodile, but they get more backstory after Luffy beats them.
Exactly, and Arlong and Crocodile do have. You like understand Arlong was raised in this condition, and you don't sympathize with him, but you understand. There's always a difference between an excuse and a reason. He might have a reason to do something, but that doesn't make it okay.
Right.
And so
the big difference here with Katakuri is that like the reason we don't get Arlong's backstory until way later is so that Arlong can play that heinous villain who we feel good to destroy.
I wanted to add, that's true, but Katakuri isn't that kind of villain. Katakuri doesn't have to be that super evil kind of villain, because this fight has really been, from the beginning, kind of like a battle of wills, like a duel in the most traditional sense. Like, I'm going to beat you so I could become stronger, because if I don't beat you, then I can't achieve my ultimate goal. For Luffy, that is becoming, obviously, King of the Pirates. For Katakuri, it's, this is my job. I have to stop you right now. This is
right. Yeah. This fight is not personal.
Yeah, this fight is 100% not personal for Katakuri. At first, it's like, there's this insect in here. It's kind of, get the hell out of here. I don't want to deal with this. But now it's like, oh no, I have like a worthy opponent, which I don't normally have. So there's kind of something exhilarating about that. And there's something, like a modicum of respect that comes out of Katakuri in this fight. And I don't think that makes him a good person. I'm not one to, I can't judge Katakuri as a person. I haven't seen him beyond this arc where he's fighting our protagonist. We don't know. And even the things he did to the chef that are brought up here are kind of because of his upbringing. Again, it's a reason, not an excuse for his behavior, but the reason for his behavior being, he was picked on as a kid because of the way he looks. So if anyone sees the way I look, I have to kill him or maim them or whatever he does, or knock him out. In the One Piece world, I'm sure they're fine. But that's how I feel about Katakuri. Actually, that's the thing I'm most fine with coming out of this chapter.
All right. Well, let's just move on before we spend another hour talking about storytelling theory. So the next is from Chris Leifer, who says, since an opening in the anime currently takes a longer time than a season on your show, when you guys catch up in a few years' time, could you have the ending song on your show be the podcast's own original songs, starting with the Vice Admiral Strawberry song?
So, maybe, but I think what we should just do is run opening 12 forever until the end of time. Once we're no.
How many openings are there? What are we up to?
Are we
17?
20.
20.
So we're at 12, so we've got 8 more years left, and by then there'll be another 8, because there's still around 1 a year. So that's 16 more years. So if One Piece does not end in 16 more years, I will not be on the One Piece podcast for 16 more years. One of those two things will happen. So it will either be up to the person who would take over the One Piece podcast to make that decision, or we'll just play opening 12.
Yep. Sounds like a plan.
Mm-hmm.
Rainier Nun Fox says, I've been researching the life cycle of stars to identify the state and possible fate of the sun homie Prometheus. Do you think Prometheus will either burn out after Linlin gets her cake, or will he expand even further to catch Bedge and explode after being exposed to Liqueur Island? Thoughts?
He's forgetting that stars also could become white dwarves and get really small. And then,
well, that's after the supernova, right? Yeah.
I think it could occur before there's different ways stars die. There's not just one way stars die, I don't think. I have to look this up. I used to be better at this. Anyway, if you guys have theories.
Nope.
No. I think Oda's going for more straightforward.
I feel like Blackbeard's the only one who could scientifically deal with Prometheus.
Yeah.
Black
Well,
hole.
it's better to burn out than to fade away.
That would be a great wrestling entrance. Just throw him into this arc. Oh, there's a black hole sucking up Prometheus. That's Blackbeard's music.
I kind of wish we saw now a Blackbeard versus Big Mom fight, and to see how that would even work. That would be pretty cool. And then but Prometheus goes how a black hole looks with the star kind of to the side, and it gets sucked down into the spirals down into the black hole. I want to
fight over cherry pies.
Sure. Yeah, actually, reasonable.
Let's see. John Garja has a question. If you could have remove the memory of one character or arc from your head, whether to forget it entirely or relive it with fresh eyes, what would you choose? I would choose Flamparazzi, just in the spirit of the times. That seems appropriate.
Queen Orica Fakusuk.
Okay.
I think that's a reasonable answer.
Right?
Yeah. Not to relive it with fresh eyes, to forget it. Let me make it clear.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, those are pretty much it.
Let's see. Sailor Karna has a question. Maybe it's for Ed or Sam. Anyone else feel like the extra fight in this week's episode tarnishes just a little Luffy and Katakuri's fight in this week's chapter? Like Luffy is having a hard time getting past Opera, probably the wrong name, but don't care, parentheses.
Counter.
And he's definitely not of the same level as Katakuri, so why would they extend this fight? I feel like there's some miscommunication between Oda and Toei.
It's just because Luffy's so hungry. He hasn't eaten in...
He's very tired and hungry, and Luffy's always kind of like organically gotten stronger as the story needs him to. So...
Guys.
I mean, it would be like, why, how come we never see Luffy like training on the Sunny like Zoro,
Did you know that stellar evolution is an extremely complex topic?
Okay, I see what Zach's doing.
Not surprising.
We're hard at work on the podcast.
No, to kind of answer the question, they could end up as a black hole, I think, or a white or black dwarf even, or a planetary nebula. Like, there are a lot of different outcomes from a star. I think that's correct. This graph is really confusing me, but I'll read more about this later on my own time. Go ahead.
All right. I feel like we've been running a little long in the tooth, so I'm just going to pick Nivers for the last question here. Okay, let's see. Including Jimbei, Carrot, Pedro, and Caesar, since one or all may join the crew, and for the sake of unnecessary fan service, let's throw in...
What were those? What were those names?
Including Jimbei, Carrot, Pedro, and Caesar, since one or all may join the crew, and for the sake of unnecessary fan service, let's throw in Ace Law and Sabo. Based on their personality, appearance, and ability, if each of these Straw Hats was a pizza, what kind of pizza would they be?
Do you guys just make questions for me now? Is this
Luffy?
I got so excited for this question, but I guess I don't know how to answer it now.
You see, now it reversed.
Caesar gets a poison pizza.
Is this like part 2 of Sam's "I don't like donuts" controversy here?
No, it's funny.
I love pizza. I just don't want to eat my favorite characters.
Okay, all right. Well, let me continue here. Luffy would be a stuffed crust pepperoni pizza, completely covered in pepperoni with extra cheese. And Law would be a pineapple and olive pizza with a cauliflower crust that you have to eat with a knife and fork.
That's exactly
because it
correct.
will fall apart when you pick it up by hand.
Also, because Law would just be the worst. I can't take it.
He hates bread.
What is wrong with him?
Breadless pizza.
You see, I know, Alex and others.
No. Law is a gluten-free pizza. That's what it is.
Maybe he has celiac disease. I mean, it's possible, but I think he just sucks. And I know Alex and others on the show are like the Poochie element of Law, but no, I'm only angry at Law because he doesn't eat bread. Anyway, please continue. I think those are all good choices. I guess Jimbei would have anchovies on his pizza, right? Carrot
Or
would
like
have
Japanese style with shrimp on it.
I mean, Carrot would just have carrots all over her pizza.
Oh, yeah.
I'm still thinking about a breadless pizza. It's just a lump of cheese.
He would have Law would have if you've ever had those Italian rice balls that are filled with the cheese and the sauce in the middle, which are actually very good. I know it's not pizza, but that would be what he would eat instead. I forgot what they're called. Should we move on?
Oh boy. No. We haven't done anything.
Jesus Christ.
Let's see. Who else? Man.
You made it sound like there were some pressing ones there, and then you just kind of.
Well, we have to think of them. Yeah, like what are the other Straw Hats? What kind of pizza
Usopp.
would they be?
I don't know what Usopp would eat specifically. Nami would have some sort of citrusy pizza, I guess. Sounds really just Hawaiian.
Yeah.
I object to even thought games where we put abnormal toppings on pizza.
I do agree with that. Although salad pizzas are not terrible if done correctly, which is difficult. I've only had
that's just a flatbread. It's a buffalo chicken pizza. It's not a fucking pizza. It's a flatbread. Like pizza has tomato sauce on it.
I feel like Robin's...
That's not always true. What about white pizza? It doesn't have tomato sauce on it. That's a perfect.
Robin's personality, she would be like a vegan pizza. She is kind of evil.
Our original margarita historical.
That's true. She would probably have like the Italian style pizza. Anyway, we could. This is like the dog question. We could be here all night. Let's move on.
Okay.
Right. That's it for Reddit, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Ed, time to
piece the tweet.
Give us the ones with anchovies on top.
No. All right, first one comes from Pongzilla, who asks, why doesn't Luffy use his attack that he used against Eneru, where he essentially turns his brain off? The gum duh.
Well, he doesn't need to do that anymore, I think. But...
Yeah, I think that's the point, is that he actually does have some of the foresight hockey.
Yeah, and he's trying to get better, I guess if he just wanted to beat him.
It's like the Kuro attack. Lucci's he's just as fast as Lucci, but better.
And that also didn't really work against Eneru at the end of the day. A lot of other things happened between.
Next one comes from Takeo Jackson, who says, is Katakuri going to perhaps leave the family in the future? I don't think he is, because we established we don't think those are members of the family. Who were insulted in the past.
They're just the Flamparazzi or the Flapinions or whatever.
Yeah. Although it is kind of odd that we've got this, common thread in the backgrounds of multiple children of Charlotte Linlin, and yet like the whole concept of Totoland is that it's a place where you can find everyone and everything, and there seems to be pretty much just blanket acceptance of that. So
on the surface.
On the surface, yes, but there also hasn't been like that much. It's not like Dressrosa, where it's like, oh, obviously there's a sinister undercurrent behind all of this. He's handled it differently in this case, I think.
Right. Mm-hmm. That kind of goes along with one of my theories has been that like we're going to see Pudding leave the island at the end of the arc and like going on an adventure to find Lola.
Like that's different. Like, is Pudding actually, she has a reason to go. She has a reason to go out. Like, what does Katakuri have except for a little bit of loathing for his family? Anyway, next one comes from Cracker Jakku, who says, you think Kid could use his magnetic power to manipulate the metallic spikes on Kaido's bracelets and is on his weapon to momentarily stop him from launching an attack? Be a cool way for him to help Luffy in the fight. It is interesting, like when a character is wearing metal on them, especially when they're fighting Kid.
Yeah, I feel like Oda's got to have some good stuff up his sleeve for that power.
Especially with the setting up of already putting Kid on Kaido's island long ago.
Yeah. I didn't see like a giant, suspended prison of glass like they did in X-Men for Kid. So I feel like
the iron pills, right?
Yeah.
Okay, next one comes from Fanboy Sins 124. It says, what do you think? Does Big Mom have the most King's hockey users in her crew because of genetics? And which children would you give that privilege to? P.S. I bet Katakuri's favorite little sister was pudding.
It doesn't seem like it's a genetic thing.
Has anyone been shown to have a genetic, like,
yeah,
like maybe Dragon, kind of. Wasn't he able to like make a path through the flames? But that doesn't necessarily mean it was hockey. It could be wind.
Yeah, I don't know. Everything we've seen so far kind of suggests that it's basically just like that it's okay if you're amazing, if you're destined to be an incredible warrior, if you reach some pinnacle of strength that you kind of naturally acquire hockey. I don't think we've seen any instances of like people like, it's not like the kid who has the force power from birth, where they're just totally helpless otherwise, but then they have this magical power. It seems like hockey has always been synonymous with, you're a total badass.
Right.
So I feel like it's more of an end point than a source of your remarkable nature or whatever.
So in conclusion, we dispute your premise and don't answer your question.
I forgot the question.
Next one, Sniper of my heart asking the important questions. Where is Brûlée? I know Luffy probably hit her somewhere, but how did Flambe plan to spread the pictures if she is also stuck in Mirror World? Good point. Next one comes from G Tweets. It says, on a scale from Pell to Ace, how will they handle Pedro's death?
Pell.
Somewhere in the middle. I think he's like missing half of his abdomen or something.
We're gonna hold a.
Luffy's missing half of his abdomen.
Well, I meant like and an arm.
Right.
Sure.
Hold a funeral in Akihabara for him. That's. Yeah.
Ed?
Smith of Stories says, I feel like this chapter reaffirms some of the misgivings I've had about this entire fight. Katakuri is too focused on Luffy. I felt like Katakuri should have left the Mirror World, whether Luffy was dealt with or not. His focus should have been guiding Big Mom to the cake. But this is sort of his ego, isn't it? Where now that Luffy's finally showing that he's strong, he really does want to fight him, as we were discussing in the Manga recap.
But before that, it really was kind of his job to take care of Luffy. Other people could handle it, I feel like, is how he saw it.
Yeah. All right, next one comes from Miles B93, who says, first time in a while that I can say I love both the chapter and the episode. Katakuri is slowly becoming one of my favorite One Piece villains.
I feel like people here have different opinions. I mean, not everyone, but some of it.
I said exactly the opposite of that earlier in the show.
You did.
And
yeah.
I would say I'm close to the opposite of Ed.
Yeah.
There's a reason we have many people on this show. It's because we could have a multitude of opinions, usually on different topics. So you can't say I disagree with the One Piece podcast because you only disagree with part of the One Piece podcast.
Sam and I had the most polite disagreement on the anime recap this week.
I think we always have pretty polite disagreements. Have we ever like come to arms over our
no.
come to fisticuffs over our discussions? No. One day.
Takeo Jackson also contributes. Great chapter. Katakuri continues to surpass expectations, so you can see where the fans are at with Katakuri. On the other hand, Nick Fridge says, this felt like the most tropish chapter in a very long time. The how dare you interrupt a duel between men deal feels incredibly incongruous to how Katakuri has acted up until now. That type of character should be in Wano, not here.
I don't disagree with that either. I mean, I kind of made my thoughts clear on why I think it's okay Katakuri did what he did. It definitely was tropish in that way. I totally get that. And I also think that trope would be better used in Wano. But I also agree that I think Katakuri had good development here, so kind of in between those two extremes.
A lot of agreement all around.
I can't disagree with anyone because then they'll stop listening.
All right, into the final stretch here. Quick Quest says, who else wants to see the alternate universe version of One Piece where Nami really was a mermaid? I don't know. Having a mermaid of a pirate part of a pirate crew seemed like a really fun idea when it was presented to me all the way back in Arlong Park.
Yeah, but then, if they have legs, but otherwise it seems really just inconvenient.
Yeah.
We're going to have a fishman.
It's tough to pull off.
So,
yeah.
I mean,
that's our mermaid.
Yeah, Jinbei's our mermaid.
Next question, or not so much of a question, but a comment from our very own Brian Newton of the very popular television show Rick and Morty says, I wonder if Flampe's reaction to Katakuri's face was Oda mocking certain fans' expected reactions to it. Can't imagine why he'd feel that way.
I see. I think that is a subtext. That's a theme that you could draw from that. I wouldn't go so far as to say like this is Oda telling the fans like, hey guys, that's you. Get it? You see, that's you. I'm rubbing your face in it. You know, I don't think it was intended to be that pointed, but you know, I'm sure there's a little of both in there.
Next one comes from Mastermind Rob 7. It says, feels we are in the middle of the Katakuri season between recent manga chapters and him soon to appear in the anime. Hopefully we stick with this fight a couple more chapters because he's so awesome.
I'm really hoping
Yeah,
I guess they do. I kind of hope they don't overlap because that's not good. It means it's been going on for a year. I mean, obviously, introducing Katakuri is not the same as fighting Katakuri, but it's still
a Katakuri surplus.
Yeah. Oh, wait. Is next week in the anime when we get introduced to the underworld bosses?
Nope.
Oh, god damn it. Tell me when that happens. Because that's when I'll care.
All right. I'm going to do these last two out of order because the other one is the one we have to end on. But Dr. Simidoku says, I think Flambe was Oda's snapshot social commentary on one of the bizarre behaviors of, in parentheses, teenage fandoms and on social media being used to ridicule others. I think that's sort of
Sam kind of said that, yeah.
Yeah. But finally, from 91 Ryan, it says, if Luffy's hat was possessed by Cappy from Super Mario Odyssey, what would Luffy try to possess?
Oh my god.
A tree with a face on it.
Yeah, well, okay, so
it doesn't even need to have already have a face, I don't think.
Yeah, right.
So if it has the hat on, then it's going to have a little scar on its cheek.
Oh, this is an easy answer, guys. A hat on a hat.
No. Vetoing that.
Oh, fine.
This is your second strike after
the ship
trying
would be
to
good.
stop.
Yeah, the ship would be good. Yeah. Zoe.
Cake itself
possesses the elephant Zoe.
Oh, I love that.
Oh, that sounds like something they would do in Super Mario Odyssey.
The elephant?
Yeah.
God, I'd watch or read or play the hell out of that. What if they do a One Piece version of that, where it's just Luffy possessing random characters and things in One Piece? I feel like that would be an interesting game. All right, I think that's all we have on Twitter. Yeah. So why don't we round off and do a little bit of trivia? You guys ready?
Okay.
This has been the One Piece Podcast, episode 505 for February 5th, 2018. We're going to have a little trivia later, but before we go, I want to remind everyone, please subscribe to us on Patreon at patreon.com/OnePiecePodcast. We have some really cool stuff coming for you soon, including outtakes and exclusives from January. And that should be coming up this week or next week. Plus, we're going to have some more of the videos of Alex and Steve eat One Piece, so please check those out as well on Patreon. Now, how could the good people out there contact you, Sam?
They can find me on Twitter at Lucky Chainsaw. They can find me on AnimeNewsNetwork.com doing the daily streaming reviews for One Piece, Dragon Ball Super, and Black Clover. And they can find me on the One Piece podcast every week doing the anime recaps.
Steven.
You can follow me on Twitter at Translatosaurus.
And Ed, where could the good people out there find us?
Well, you are Zach_Logan on Twitter. I am Edward E. One Piece. The podcast is at OnePiecePodcast.com, Twitter.com, YouTube.com, and Facebook.com/OnePiecePodcast. OnePiecePodcast@gmail.com is our email address. One Piece Podcast is our Skype name. You can subscribe on SoundCloud. You can subscribe on Google Play. You can subscribe on TuneIn Radio. You can subscribe, rate, and review on Apple Podcasts, or call us on our phone number, Zach.
And that phone number is 347-497-MAJI.
MAJI.
That phone number again is 347-497-6254. Call anytime.
Anytime.
With your questions, comments, and theories. Great show today, you guys, but we have to do a little bit of trivia.
All right.
So, for those who don't know how it works, I will ask you guys to name either characters or places or things, and you will go in the order that you had your manga recap pages. When you either can't think of something in time, or you repeat an answer, you will be out. We also have a tiebreaker round in case there are two people who are left, or people lose in the same round. So the order will be Steven, Sam, and Ed. Here we go. I want you guys to name the races in One Piece. Steven.
Okay. Giants.
Sam.
Tontadas.
Long arm.
Am I taking Tontadas is the thing? Races.
It is a race.
I mean,
That's
it would be listed under dwarves, but
or little people, I think.
or little people, or whatever you call
Okay,
them.
I'll take it. Ed?
Long arm.
Steven?
Human.
Nice, you got it. I was wondering if
I got it.
was
Nailed
gonna
it.
get that. Sam?
Long leg.
Ed?
Snake neck.
Steven?
Fishman.
Sam?
Merperson.
We're folk, yeah.
Merfolk.
Sam? I'm sorry, you just went. Ed? We've got 3 left, and then there's like 2 kind of, which I'll get to.
Well, they're the Sky Islanders. They have wings on their backs.
Name what they're called?
One of them are the Bleakins.
Oh,
Ilkins?
Yeah, actually, that one wasn't even on it, but that is one. I'm going to add that. Good job, Ed. I should give you bonus points. Steven.
Minx.
Sam.
3-eyed people.
We're missing one that I'm sure you guys know. Ed.
Oh, Skypeans?
What are they called?
Oh, oh man.
You got 3
Are they
seconds.
really a race?
Shandorians.
Sure, I'll take it.
Okay, there you go.
So we have, for a bonus, does anyone know there is one that is missing? It was in one of Big Mom's books in the library. It may be a race, or it may be a character, but the One Piece Wiki lists it as a race for some reason. Does anyone know?
Is it the Mushroom Man or something?
Yeah.
Mushroom person? Yes!
Steven.
Wow.
Yeah,
The-
I would have gone for like
The name in
Centaur from Punk Hazard.
The
or
name
something.
in Japanese is a Kinokobito, apparently. Now,
Kinokobito, right, yeah.
Sam, you stay in the game. If you could get, I'm going to give you a hint. It is a name for a mixed race character.
Wotan.
Okay, you
There
all win. So we're going to go into our bonus round. This is the
I thought that was the bonus round.
no, that was the regular round. So there are only 5 of these, but you have to name 5 of your favorite characters, the Celestial Dragons. There are 5 listed that I have, so there might be more. Please, if you know any that I don't have listed, you have to give context, so I am able to believe it. Anyway, first to go is Steven.
Charlos.
Sam.
Homing.
You see, that wasn't on there, but it is. He was one. I'll count it. Ed.
Like currently or ever?
Ever is fair.
No Flamingo. Don Quixote.
You see, that wasn't there either, but it is. Where are we up to? Steven.
Well, all right. Then I guess that would be a Rocinante.
You guys are being really cheap with this.
Yeah.
Because there's 4
I'm
real
trying to
ones.
scoop up the easy one.
Right.
Yeah. Sam.
I'm
So right
Was
now,
there a girl named? There was a woman named like Shalulia or something. Or am I thinking of someone else?
I don't know who you're talking about. Can you give me context?
I don't know. She's got purple hair.
No, that's not going to count. Sorry, Sam. Ed.
I think her name was Shalria, and she was the one who shot at Zoro on
got it.
Shabati.
That's one. Okay.
Oh, so
Now, Steven and
I feel
Ed,
like I was.
whoever gets this wins.
Oh,
Whoever, if you both get it, we have to keep going. Steven, there are 3 left.
3 left?
I don't know any of them.
You know them. You just haven't thought of them.
Oh man,
I can't pronounce one of them. So
can't pronounce. Wasn't their dad's name like?
No, we already said the dad's name.
You did?
No,
not
Charles.
No, you can't work together. That's not how this works, Steven.
Okay.
3 seconds.
3 seconds. Rosword. That's it.
Yeah, you got it.
I
was the only one. That was the only one I was thinking. No,
Ed,
that was the one I was thinking of.
So you can't think of the last 2?
No, I can't think of another one.
The last 2 are in the order that I could pronounce it. Jalmak.
From Gold, right?
And Majosgard, who I believe is the hideous looking one.
I've never heard that one.
Oh, that's the one from Fishman Island.
Fishman Island flashback?
Fishman Island flashback.
That really narrows it down, the hideous looking one.
That was fun. Good job, Steven. Congratulations on your free donut for the week. Yeah, that was a real... You guys know your races, your species. So thank you so much. Next week we'll be back with our manga recap of chapter 894, and we'll also have some special guests with us. So please join us then. We also have an anime recap as usual. So until then, my name is Zach.
My name is Ed.
And we'll see you next week, everyone. Goodbye.
Adios. Senor Pink is just Baby Man Crybaby, isn't he?
Baby Man Crybaby.
I'll write that down,
boy.
but I don't know if that works.